Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, and I'm calling this Thrilling Thursday. It's the 30th of April 2020, just in case anybody's forgetting. And this is number 32, so it's 32 days. I don't do them at the weekend, so but 3-4 weeks now. Anyway, I'm calling this Thrilling Thursday because what a thrill it gives me to send happy birthday wishes to Captain Tom Moore. What an amazing person. I mean, it's just absolutely fabulous. So I wanted to start today with an affirmation for him. We thank you, Tom. We thank you, Tom. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. 100 years old. If we could sing it, Happy Birthday to you, then that would be fabulous as well. I think they did that in television this morning and they had a fly past. Absolutely stunning. Just wish there was, well, there will be lots of people like him, and the ones that are really selfish things are in the minority, and that's what we hope. So we need to breathe as well and just take a deep breath in, be thankful that we have people like Tom, Captain Tom Moore, and then imagine that you're celebrating with him, that we have something to celebrate. Now, before I go into Thrilling Thursday, I thought, what a laugh. I was giving fashion advice yesterday, sort of on colour, and I did say I wasn't a fashionista. But my goodness, thank you for no one private messaging me or posting what a terrible cardigan I was wearing. I looked at the video later and I thought, my goodness, it's like one of these old things you fling on if you're feeling cold, or like they get an old dressing gown out. It was all sort of bobbly, and I started thinking about, I was sitting with my lovely Bruce, and many years ago we were sitting watching something on television, and there was a presenter. I won't give their name, I remember who it was, but I said, goodness me, what's she wearing? And you'd think she'd have been told, that that's not suitable. And he said, but lots of these TV presenters and people being interviewed aren't given advice on what to wear. And you probably remember, I remember, it's not so bad nowadays, but I remember people being interviewed and they'd wear jackets that had all these squiggly lines and things, and your eyes were sort of focused on, or not focused on what they were wearing. It was awful. Anyway, thrilling. Thrilling is all about inspiring and motivating yourself. And when we inspire and motivate ourselves, we feel better, and people round about us feel better. The problem is that what is motivating us just now is actually fear, and it's due to the uncertainty and negativity that's all around. So, what do I mean by fear being a motivator? Well, I'm thinking of like when you tell a child, look, oh, don't go near that fire, or don't go near the oven, it's hot and you'll burn yourself. The child hopefully will react carefully the next time. So that's kind of motivating them through fear. Of course, there'll always be the one child who touches the oven and won't take heed of what you're saying. It's like a bit like saying there's wet paint there, don't touch it. And I know I want to touch it then. But that's how we're kind of motivating a child through fear to stop doing something that might hurt themselves. There's also, if you're trying to lose weight. Now, you might think, well, if I eat more, I'll gain weight. And that's kind of a common sense thing, but it also can be a fear motivator because, and the fear there is if we eat more, we'll be frightened that we're going to put on, it's a fear of gaining weight. So hurt's another thing. Fear of being hurt, that's a huge situation. If you've been hurt in the past, then the tendency is that you'll become so afraid of being hurt that you won't create future relationships in fear of being hurt again. And then, of course, that actually limits the possibilities and the opportunities of lovely relationships with others and bringing enjoyment to life. Now, in this pandemic, you would think that fear of getting the coronavirus would be a powerful motivator. But as we see, it hasn't stopped everybody from ignoring advice. I mean, there still are people around who don't seem to be frightened of getting this virus, and they're not taking heed of advice. Now, what goes through some of the minds of some of these people, I just don't know. And I think some of them think, well, it doesn't affect me, it won't affect me, therefore I'm not really bothered. It's a selfish attitude, and they forget that they might be impacting on others. And of course, that's really is not. They forget that that's really being selfish. So when fear is ignored, it's often though because the fear has been suggested by others. And of course, that's what's happening here. It's the government, other people are telling us what to do. And there's lots of us don't like being told that. In fact, I think I mentioned yesterday that, and it's come up this morning, I think, as well, in one of the programmes, that people say we've got rights. We've got rights to go to the seaside. We've rights to go outside. It's public space. Nobody owns it. We can do what we like. And of course, don't get me on my bandwagon again, because that is all very well. Yes, we all have rights. But please remember that with rights come responsibilities and accountability. So I was thinking of that I think it helps if also if we're not bombarded by information, lots of negative information, and we're getting it from so many sources that it's difficult to know what is the truth and what isn't the truth. And of course, now we're getting some stories on the news that seem to be repetitions. So you think, well, are we hearing this again? Or is that a new event that we're hearing about? So it's very, very difficult. But of course, prevention is better than a cure. So I think it was Benjamin Franklin said that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So I wish, in a way, it's just my opinion, but I wish we had a more decisive leader early on. I think there was too much information or lack of clarity on the information we were getting. And there's been some interesting posts on social media of saying, I think there was one girl posted up a video and saying, now, this is to clarify, you must stay in, but if you need to go out, you can go out. You must, so there's lots of really funny stories on that. And I think when we're faced with a frightening time, we've not to let fear rule our minds. And if you're faced with fears, the solution is that you really have to weigh them up. And if there's something you can do that's within your control, then you take action. However, when you act, it's got to be with a calm, clear mind. And of course, that's difficult. When you start panicking and frightened, you're in a flurry. So you've really to, breathing, of course, is good. Take a deep breath, and then you can bring more clarity to your mind. There are times, of course, where we don't have time to think. We've got plenty of stories of the people who jump into the water to save a child. They've not sat on the riverbank going, now, I wonder what I will do here. They just go for it. And if they took time to think, then the child would probably drown. So in the current pandemic, I think we don't need, or we don't want people to jump in. We need people who in charge, who do think clearly. They think and analyse carefully, and they should try and have, if they don't have, they should be taking 3 deep breaths and making and finding solutions with a clear mind, because this crisis just does not just have one solution. It's got many, and they need to look at every aspect of the crisis, and that is extremely difficult. We know that. And of course, there's people just now trying to find vaccines, and there's so many things still need to be done, and we need to learn, of course, for the future as well. And of course, again, we could I could go into kind of say we didn't know this was coming. Well, think of I think well, there's stories, we hear of pandemics from a while ago, and we should have been, I think, more prepared. But anyway, that's for another day. Now, we need to think of, say, if there's been a crisis at work or a crisis in the family, how did you find a solution? Did you run around like a headless chicken? Well, you might have done. You probably did for a little while. But when you actually sat down carefully and calmly, that's when you probably found the solution. It's when you calmed your mind and your emotions, and you had space to think. And when you have space to think, a solution does appear. It's just found. So ask yourself, if we exercise with people, Ask yourself these questions. Are you someone who gets a thrill from the energy of fear? Are you motivated by fear? Like, do you like frightening films or watching devastating news? Now, I can watch some of these films, but I find that I'd rather have a calm, peaceful mind, and that's much more important than me than some quick rush of adrenaline. Now, do you like conspiracy theories? Oh, there's so many of these around, isn't there? I was thinking of, like, there's the Dean Koontz book, The Eyes of Darkness. Now, that was 1981, and a few people posted that up and posted a copy of some of the content which talked about the coronavirus. But we need to think, I mean, did he predict it? Because epidemics and plagues have been around for centuries. They've been inspired by literature and art. Daniel Defoe's a Journal of the Plague Year. That was published in 1722. Albert Camus's The Plague, 1947. That explored the human toll of epidemics. Now I wonder, do the plots of these films and books predict they create them by getting people focused on the outcome? Maybe it's just coincidence. I was reading, and I'm not an expert in this, but quantum physics. Now that's shown that the observer changes the outcome of an experiment. So where thousands of millions of people are focused on an outcome and they're feeding it energy, then that influences the results. That's quantum physics. Anyways, food for thought. Outside of my knowledge and my particular expertise. But quantum physics is all around us, so it's something you could research for yourselves, and it's interesting. The bottom line for me is that it's better to take action to prevent something rather than go blindly on. Prevention not just applies to physical remedies, but to mental and emotional. So, when you give attention to something, it grows bigger and it becomes better. So if you're complaining all the time, you hate things, you resent things, you hold grudges, I'm getting my words all mixed up this morning. So if you hold grudges, hate people, hate situations, resent, and you've met them, you've been around them, then that just feeds you, that energy, it draws these sort of people around you. And then you're surrounded by all these negative people and it's feeding you and it starts ruling your life. You may even be doing this unconsciously. So you need to know and understand what you're doing in order to stop it. And of course, one of the good things is that you need to start living consciously. You need to start to know yourself. What is it that thrills you? What motivates you? What makes you this wonderful human being? And you all are wonderful. So your challenge is to stop wondering what other people are thinking of you and start thinking of what will make you happy. Stop thinking about that it's material things that are going to make you happy. In fact, if I was totally concerned yesterday about what people were thinking of me, I probably wouldn't be doing this video this morning with that bobbly cardigan. So I've taken it off. I'm looking more like as if I'm going to go sailing in the stripy blue t-shirt this morning. So you need to consciously start thinking, what are you not? That's kind of the opposite in a sense of what I'm saying. But in order to find out who you are, you need to ask yourself some questions. So another wee exercise for you all. So what false front do you put on to please others? And we all do this. So you need to start thinking about that. Do you have a need for power? Do you have a need to control situations, other people? What fears are holding you back? Are you wearing, I talked about my Spanx yesterday, remember, holding it in? So think of this sort of Spanx feeling. Are you wearing a Spanx? Now that's just an undergarment that holds all the fat in. So I thought the word Spanx suits better here. So are you kind of wearing a Spanx that is keeping you restricted and it's holding you back from becoming you? Now, don't worry if you've got lots of fears and made lots of mistakes. In fact, congratulate yourself if you've made lots of mistakes, because it's from these mistakes that you find out who you are or who you are not. And of course, it's from your greatest challenges and things that have happened to you come your greatest strengths. So once you know what you're doing wrong, what your mistakes are, you can then take action to become a more positive you. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again, and remember the phrase of the coach that told his basketball team, be quick, but don't hurry. So you don't rush into action. So what do? Some of the steps and tips here. Be still. Only when your mind is still and calm and at peace will you find your inner self. You'll find your real you in there. If you're running around like a headless chicken and doing 100 things at once, stop. Close your eyes and just take a deep breath. The next thing is imagine, because you need space. So imagine you're on that beach and horizon meditation I did. Imagine you're on the beach and you're staring into the horizon. When you have the space around you, and imagine, you don't need to be there, you can do it in your imagination. When you have space, you will find your greatest ideas, your best ideas. The next thing, of course, is decide to change your mindset. Remember, we talk about the power of the mind. It is absolutely stunning. The mind is so powerful. This is a bit alien to me, actually, but you need to stop agreeing to do everything for everyone else. This is a big one for me, because I do find it difficult when people ask me to do things. And we've probably heard of that. There are people who are givers and there are people who are takers. But sometimes you can get manipulated and emotionally abused. So you need to consider that. No longer agree to do everything for everyone, because then you'll just deplete your own energy and actually not really taking care of yourself. Now, no matter what shape you are, remember my shapes exercise, I want you to make a list. But this time, no matter what's on you maybe have your list already, no matter what's on that list, for today, I only want you to cross off one thing, just one thing. That's all for today. And then when you've done that, I want you to praise yourself and say, what a fantastic job I did. So just the one thing on your list today. So it's all kind of about slowing down and calming down. Now, about not agreeing to do things for everything, this follows my next kind of tip. Learn to say no. Oh, that's a difficult one for me. And I find no is actually a sentence in itself. But I find, and you may do the same, if somebody asks you to do something, you don't say no, you go, well, I would have done it, but I think I was going to do such and such. So you're always kind of paraphrasing it with other things. Try and just say no. Now, if you want to obviously be pleasant and nice, you could say, no, it's just not for me just now. Don't try and have some long thing about what you're going to do, and then you end up actually probably doing it anyway. You talk yourself into it. But that's a difficult one, and I know that. Remember when you change to, now this comes back to a bit of the fear. When you change for the better, it can create fear in others. People don't like change. They're frightened of change, particularly if it's change in you. So if you change and a close family member sees a different you, they don't like it. And even if it's the better you, it's like they get used to the old you. They can't understand why there's a need for change, but you've got to just sit back and think, well, that's their problem. If you're feeling better about yourself, and I hope that, I think I talked about it yesterday, I hope that if you change for the better, it's got that sort of ripple effect. And we can always live in hope that people are always wanting to better themselves and becoming just nicer people. And we are hoping that even in this pandemic and in this crisis that we won't go back to just the old situation that we've always had, that people will be kinder. So we're now at the stage of just my mind bite meditation. This is quite daunting, actually, doing these videos every day. I think I set myself up a quite a difficult challenge because I thought a lot of my tips it sounds like they are repetitious, and it's trying to think of maybe a new sort of topic every day and just raise spirits and inspire people and motivate people. And I've got to see, when I do get feedback from people, thank you so much. It's such a privilege and an honour because it inspires and motivates me. Thank you. That's all I can say. Thank you to everybody. Now, I don't know if there's people watching. I thought of doing the trying to be in a still place. I was thinking of either we have the choice today. I can do the floating clouds or the floating feather. I'm not sure if I've done I maybe have done both before. If anybody's watching, do you want to put up what would you like? Maybe the feather. I was going to do the feather next week. The white feather has a nice place in my heart because when it's coming up to the anniversary of Bruce's death, and I always, on the celebration of his day, the day of his celebrating his life, white feathers just started to fall from the sky. So I might leave the floating feather, the white feather, for next week, which will be the anniversary. So I'll maybe do the floating clouds today. So just think, let's just sit nice and comfortably. Our feet on the ground and shoulders back. Remember the posture. We want to feel positive, feel good about ourselves. So this Mind Bites meditation, the floating cloud, it's very effective if you want to increase your positivity. You can look to the future. It gives you kind of space and time to be peaceful and calm, and you can feel much more positive when you just take a couple of minutes to think about nature again. It's all really about nature, isn't it? So today the sky to me is quite grey, but I can put myself in the place of watching these clouds, and I can take myself into the beauty of nature at any time I want. So, if you want to move forward with a positive attitude, a positive mind, and with peace and calm, then we can close our eyes now and take a deep breath in through the nose. Remember, from the diaphragm, you're pushing that tummy out as you breathe in. Hold, and then relax and exhale. Take another deep breath in through the nose. Hold, and then exhale through the mouth. Now imagine yourself lying down. You feel calm. You feel relaxed. You look up at the blue sky. Soft white clouds are slowly floating by. You feel as if you can touch them. They continue to float by, softly and silently. They change shapes. They're soft and fluffy, wispy. You imagine anything you want. You're in your own space. You feel calm. You feel relaxed. Now take a deep breath in through the nose. Hold and exhale through the mouth. Take another deep breath in through the nose. Hold and exhale through the mouth. Now open your eyes and say your affirmations. I feel relaxed. I feel confident. I have a positive attitude. My mind is at peace. My mind is positive. I know I can move forward with positivity. And then stretch, and obviously, because after you've done a kind of meditation, you just need to shake your body and get all yourself going again. I hope you've enjoyed that today. It seemed a bit maybe odd talking about thrilling Thursday, and we're talking about fears, but really we're talking about what motivates you. And you need to think of things that inspire and motivate you. So please, again, the tip is not to constantly watch negative news. Stay as positive as you can. If you're feeling overwhelmed and bringing yourself down, close your eyes, take a deep breath. Just within minutes, you can bring yourself to feeling much better. And tomorrow, I'm going to, it's called Fabulous Friday, and we're going to put the to-do list aside and we're going to give yourself a rest. So, and it'll take you into the weekend. So thank you again for watching, and if there's any other topics you want me to talk about or get in touch, please post or private message me. And thank you all very much for your positive feedback, and have a fabulous day. Till tomorrow. Okay, bye.